I just really think it's that, the whole digital world and the digiverse, or whatever you want to call it, the world of the computers, it's so unknown, especially at the time when the movie came out. Computers were just getting to be the big thing, and no one really knew a lot about it, and so there was this whole idea of, well, what goes on in the computer, what is a computer, what does it do, and the fact that, they personified that, all the programs, they're people, they're just people running around in there, and they've got personalities and things they can do, and this is what goes on, when the lights go out in the computer. And everybody was just like, wow, that's so cool, and it was just so easy to relate to, because everybody thought computers were so fascinating, and we still do. I mean, just because the technology has jumped 20 years, we still find computers fascinating, and to personify that in the Tron universe is something that people can really relate to and say, wow, this is really cool. Some of the things we're talking about doing with the light cycles we thought, the light cycles were really cool, and they all went along, but it was kind of finite in that, once you filled up the grid, someone had to crash, and that was it. So we're thinking of ways of what we can do to kind of extend that. And we've got some tricks up our sleeve in terms of the light cycles that we're going to be prototyping out. And if it works, anyone who's familiar with light cycles or Tron is just going to flip. They're going to say, oh my God, I can't believe they took it to this extra level.
First for 3 months, we prototype, we plan the game, we get it all set down, we make a schedule. We make sure that everything we're planning on doing is actually possible. Then for 12 months, 16 months, we actually produce everything. And at the end of that period, we produce what's called an alpha, or we have a milestone that's called alpha, and that's our first candidate for release of the game. We know it's not perfect. We start heavily testing it. Both ourselves and Disney starts heavily testing the game, and we fix all the problems, fix all the bugs, and we've got another 3 to 8 months to get the game perfect. And it goes from alpha to beta, and then finally to gold, and that's the final game that gets released. And generally we've been up for 40 hours when that actually happens. We've been working 6 days, 16 hours a day for the last 3 months, and so we all go home and take a week off and sleep the entire time. But that's the day. And of course, when we come back in, we have champagne and getting real lazy for a couple of months while we figure out what our next project's going to be. In the new world of Tron, where computer programs or game programs are purpose-built, we don't have a number of accounting programs who are thrown into the gaming pits. Now we've got bots and these the AI of games that are specifically made for gaming, and so we're going to have all these purpose-built characters, and they're going to have their sort of elegant core, quote-unquote weapon. The disc fighters is obviously going to be their disc. The light cycle riders are going to have their rod, so they'll have their rod. They'll be able to pull it out and like guns from a holster and click it together in front of them, and there'll be a cool effect, and then they'll go into their light cycles. But they'll also be able to use that as their core, means of defense and offense. And you, as a user, a more powerful entity than a program who gets digitized into the electronic world, you'll be able to use all of their weapons. First you'll get to ride the old light cycle, and it'll be cool, and then you'll get the super cycle. They're always going to try to have that next step in there. You'll get the movie experience, and then boom, you'll get the new thing that's that you never thought of before. It's the next step, the cooler, the logical next step for the cool stuff.
You have to definitely love the property, and I think most people do. Definitely everyone on our team does. And you have to want to make just an amazing game, because Tron's interesting. You're sort of paying homage to the old Tron, and you're also fully fleshing out that world and building a new Tron that's going to, hopefully move forward, maybe with other sequels or other titles. So it's a pretty heavy responsibility, but also pretty exciting. But you have to balance both those things. We had Sid Mead come up and talk with us, which was pretty exciting. And he talked a lot about how they approach the look of Tron, and so you try to look at it from a story side, but really try and just capture the whole essence of Tron, the visuals of it, just what it felt like. And you just kind of start brainstorming from there and start coalescing ideas, having more meetings until you just refine it down and refine it down and refine it down and start building prototypes. And light cycles and the discs, that stuff is iconic from that time. The light cycle and the disc, it just lasts forever. And so there's definitely a subculture of people out there that are, I think, always anticipating a new movie or a new game or anything that's going to be Tron related. Definitely going to be some surprises. There's going to be some really neat characters. I think everybody's going to be very excited with where we're taking the Tron universe.
The nature of the content of Tron lends itself very well to game making. It's not a big push to create these 3D worlds for Tron. The Tron is an actual world. When you say Tron, generally speaking, you're thinking about a world and an environment and a state of being. So that'd be a pretty cool place to be. In Tron, the characters have a sort of a electrical presence around them. They have this body armor, and electricity's running through it. They're blue, and if they're good guys, they're blue, and if they're bad guys, they're red. We have to explore how that would have evolved over the last 20 years. So we're in that stage. We're actually in that stage currently of that exploration, and then after that, there's scheduling and the full. It's very similar to movie production, actually.
It's a first-person action adventure game that has a very thought-out story, which will propel the player through the game. But it's going to be satisfying on two levels. It's going to have that action of the disc, of the light cycle, and all those things that we associate with the excitement in watching the movie. But we've created this story that has, or attempting to have, all these elements that we associate with Tron, but this sort of emotional impact. It's going to look new, it's going to look contemporary, and there might be even some references to an old system, which will capture that old Tron world. But in of itself, it's going to be new. It's going to have new characters, new environments, new kinds of gameplay. The disc, to me, is the icon of Tron. I can't imagine having anything Tron related without the disc. So the discs will definitely be a big part of the game. The fact that we're taking the wonderful world of Tron universe, and making it the backdrop for this game to take place in, that in itself will be fresh. Being able to have the disc battles, racing the light cycles, things like that might have taken place in other games, but not contextually in the Tron world. That in itself will be new and exciting.